Now, this is the buzzer I'm going to be tying. Now, this is one from a way back. It's a pattern I tied in the 90s using the Flexi-Floss, and as a style I used, and in the last 3 or 4 days I've been messing about with some of the older flies that I used to tie, and remembering some of the techniques I used, and this was one of them. And this used to catch really well at the beginning of the season for me. It was a kind of variant of a fly I called the Hemoglobin. The original one was just red and black, down the body and back up, with the Flexi-Floss, but with a bit of UV in it, and this was a kind of Mark II version, as I called it. Now, it basically gives the impression, that fly, but it was like a shuck, very silvery-like, and to be honest with you, the fish used to love it. I used to catch on it as well, and when I had them in my box anyway, which is kind of a rare thing for me sometimes. But as I say, I was just thinking back to some of the patterns and the styles I tied, so I'm going to show you how to tie this one. I'll not put a light on it because it works. When you see the light on it, it really glows with especially with the wing buds within it's actually white Flexi-Floss. So hook I'm using, now you could use a curved hook, it's up to yourself, or a straight hook I'm going to use. It's one of these ones here I'm using from Full and Mill. This is a competition heavyweight, black nickel, size 10. Just going to catch on nice and tight. Thread I'm going to be using, I'll just straighten my camera up a wee bit. Maybe that's a wee bit better in the middle. Thread I'm going to be using is this one. This is UTC in black. Nice, this is the thinner of the two. They do have 140. So I'm going to catch the thread on about the length of the thorax, and then remove the waste. Now I'm using the fluorescent white Flexi-Floss from Full and Mill. This is a new range of fly tie materials, and especially when I seen this white, I went, oh geez, that would be ideal. It's a lovely colour, a lovely white anyway for this fly. There was a couple of flies I tied. There was one called the Grey Boy, and this one using the white, the Hemoglobin. So I'm going to catch this in the way down. Just stretch it as you wind to the back. Now as I get to the back here, I'm going to come up a couple of turns, trim away the wee tail there. Now there's a back on it. I'm going to be, originally I used a Flashaboo, but I'm going to be using this pearly. You can see ice blue pearl. That's this UV colour. It's a medium size, so it's a better size for along the back. Now it's a wee bit curly, so I'm going to go back a turn and then catch this in, and then just basically take my thread up a bit. It's a wee bit curly, so I'm cutting it to set the proper length, the length I need. And I need enough to reach over the front of the eye, so I trim that away. And then we just take our thread up. Just going to come back down to get slight taper in the body. 2/3 of the way, come back up. UTC covers really quick, then I come back down halfway and then back up. So that gives you a nice taper. Now I'm going to continue up to the eye. Then I'm going to tie in some fluorescent red Flexi-Floss, just for the wing buds. Now I'm just going to fold it over the thread, just about 1 inch either side or so, and then wind underneath, keeping it underneath the shank. Wind the length of the thorax. Now I'm going to build up the thorax a wee bit, just to get just to encourage the shape of the midge pupa. Don't get too close to the eye, you need to leave a bit of space to obviously tie things off. Now the unusual part is I'm going to wind over the wing buds with the white, so I'm going to have to tie these in first, catch them on the top, 3 or 4 turns down or so, making sure it's secure. You can then stretch and trim this away. You bring over the UV right along the back and even along the thorax cover as well. So 2 or 3 turns, first time making sure it's sitting where I want. Quite hard to see with the way the light is, because it only catches the light a certain way. And that's what makes the pedal work really well. So fold it back, tidy the head a bit, trim away the excess. And then we're going to wind up with the white Flexi-Floss. We're going to rib the body. Take our time. Now as we get to the wing buds, we then want to just continue but touching turns with it over the Flexi-Floss and the thorax. All the way up, just keep going. Once you get to the head, just catch it. 2 or 3 turns, and then I like to fold it back. Just form like a small head. Just ignore that, but keeping the thread tight. You must keep the thread tight. And then whip finish. Trim away the thread. Oops. Stretch and trim away the Flexi-Floss. You must stretch it, trim. You'll get a neater cut if you do that. There you go, a wee tail of black there, that'll be fine. I never cut it close enough. But anyway, there we are. So what I'm going to do now, I've got a UV resin. This is the Bug Bond and the resin light. I usually just put a wee drop on my desk and use my dubbing needle to apply the resin. So just scrape it on all the way around. Right, make sure it's on the thorax. Get it in between the rib and onto the. You want it to come onto the hook slightly. Just get the shape that you like. Obviously, with resins, you can manipulate or you can take away resin if you think it's too much. Because if you have time to do that, then set the resin when you're happy. Just give it a. Obviously, the more the light's on it, the more it'll cure, but it doesn't take long. You can actually see the fluorescent red wing buds glowing. So I should do it. And then seal it with some varnish. Obviously around the thorax and the head, and a wee lick onto the body. It will tighten up once it dries, and it'll give you more of a shape in the body itself. And there we go. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to show you what it looks like when the light's on it. So you can imagine now, obviously a dull day you get a dull fly, that's the way it should work. But when the light's right and the sun's shining, you'll get more of the colour coming through, get that very silver light look. And that's basically what you're looking for. If you underneath, you'll see how the red comes through. That's why it was called the hemoglobin, because you could see through it. And this was the variant, but it was this, when I seen this white, fluorescent white of Full and Mill, it glows, and I thought, geez, that would be ideal for this pattern, and that's why I had to tie it. So as you can see, it certainly glows alright, catches very silver, and that's what you're looking at. A lot of the midge coming off, you'll see a very silver light body, and the fish react to that. Now you can put a coat of varnish on that if you want, or you can just leave it as it is. I usually just leave it. Once the resin's on, then a coat of varnish, that's fine. So there we are. That's the Yeah, another one of the older patterns. I thought the styles there, I thought you maybe like to see it, just it's the way we messed about with these patterns at the time. And they caught it, I mean, jeez. We keep forgetting about these old patterns and then we remember there's wee things that make us remember. And I said, well, I've got to tie some of them again. And as I say, this is the Hemoglobin, as I say, Mark II. Nice buzzer pattern. So give it a go, see what you think, and thanks for watching.